Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/JustNoMil. In today's episode, JustNoMil complains about me lazy because I sit on my computer all day. I work from home, so I fired her and husband won't speak to her anymore. The time when I found out my MIL muted me. Old story, 2 dads and 1 miserable baby. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. JustNoMil complains about me lazy because I sit on my computer all day. I work from home, so I fired her and husband won't speak to her anymore. So I work full time. 3 days from home, 2 in the office. I work in finance and manage a small team of 6. So I am always busy, in meetings, checking if people are doing their work right, making sure everything flows smoothly. My MIL watches my 1-year-old 2 days of the week I work from home. I never wanted her to, but she begged to do it. I turned the landing next to the kitchen into my work area. She stays downstairs living room with the toddler while I'm working. She's an extrovert and always needs to be talking or have attention. It's so annoying. I start work at 8:30, but she comes at 9 and thinks it's rude that I don't have a chat and sit down and drink tea with her. Once the toddler is sleeping, she will always make snide comments. I'm working, like, aren't you tired of just sitting in front of that thing all day? She would compare how when she was my age she was up on her feet all day actually working hard. She worked at a grocery store managing the fruit aisle. When it's nice outside, she will give me awkward looks and say it's too nice. I don't know why you're just in front of that thing. When I am a meeting, she will randomly come up behind me and ask where this and that is, and I will tell her I am on a meeting and to shush. And she will tell my husband how rude I am. On my lunch break I usually feed the baby lunch too. I lay down and rest alongside with my toddler after. Then JustNoMil has the nerve to say you're not going to clean the mess in the living room the toddler made? Or hoover this and that? I clean the house every morning. As what extroverts do. She is also a gossip. I've heard from my SIL that she's been calling me lazy and rude, that all I do is sit in front of a computer doing nothing all day. I confronted her and she did not deny it and doubled down and called me lazy and non-ambitious. I'm a finance manager, you idiot. My husband got angry at her and refuses to speak to her anymore and has enough of her sh*t2, good riddance by Felicia. I work in finance, so I feel your pain. People don't understand what it is that we do. It's a lot of mental work. Can you move your work area to a room and lock the door? If not, then she can't come over anymore. Find a babysitter. It will be worth the cost, and if she begins to wah about it, tell her the truth. You don't respect me and my work, you constantly interrupt, so I can't have that. On my lunch break I usually feed the baby lunch too. MIL couldn't be bothered to do the job that she begged for and just used it as an opportunity to try and tear you down instead. If you're feeding the kiddo, she's not babysitting, she's visiting, also evidenced by the tea thing each morning. Also, I wouldn't ascribe her bad habits/awful behavior to her being an extrovert. Yep. Worth it to get a nanny instead. It was MIL asking OP if OP was going to tidy the mess the toddler made that really irritated me. If you are looking after a child, then it's your responsibility to tidy any mess made by them. If LO needed changed, did she call OP to stop work to come and do it? She doesn't want to understand your job, she wants to put you down. My MIL would randomly turn up at our house when I was working and expect to be entertained. She told my daughters that they didn't want to grow up to be a typist like me. Not a typist, nothing at all wrong with typists. I've worked hard to get where I am now and I've earned more than my husband for a number of years now, but she's not here to see it anymore. I can just imagine the comments she may have started making to your toddler while you were busy working, so you've 100% done the right thing in firing her. Well done you. My ex-husband did not respect my work at home. Not even phone calls. He would interrupt at any time. It's just really bad manners and disrespectful. Glad you took care of it. Put kid in daycare. If anyone, including her, asks, say that all she did was nothing instead of watching the kid and was too lazy to do it, so you've hired someone with a work ethic. I'd love to be a fly on the wall if that was said. So I'm confused. Did she bring her children with her on the produce aisle? Because you are working from home and part-time parenting while you do it. This woman is extremely jealous and has no idea how to be supportive. She has no place in your child's life until she can get a grip on her inability to process her jealousy that someone female can work hard and sit. Good job on removing her from your lives. Oh no silly, she isn't breaking her back and on her feet all day, it's not real work/s. Someone female can work hard and sit. Someone needs to go tell some of my previous managers this. Free childcare isn't free. Sounds like she didn't need childcare from her anyway, she let her do it because she begged to watch the kid. So no great loss. Need more, so I fired her, in here. Out of a cannon. I had a similar issue when I first started working from home. Hubs couldn't understand why I paid for someone to watch our 3-year-old outside of the house. I told him I could give 100% to work during business hours or 100% to daughter. Impossible to do both. And I certainly wasn't willing to give less than 100% to daughter. Glad you kicked her out, since apparently she is incapable of understanding. Maybe she expected you to break out in a sweat if you were doing actual work at the computer. The time when I found out my MIL muted me. I'm having a nice drink by myself and I just wanted to share my story. I filed for divorce from my enabling ex and my crazy in-laws 2 years ago. Most of the time I feel completely resolved and back to normal, but sometimes one tiny trigger gets me right back to past trauma. My MIL was at her craziest during my postpartum period, aka her first grandchild being born. She wouldn't let me hold my baby, would sneak my baby out of his crib at night and co-sleep with him. Yes, she stayed with us to help during that period. I cried every day because I couldn't hold my child. It was a cold winter and my son was suffering from dry bloody nose and unable to nurse. The pediatrician recommended saline spray. My son cried every time we did it, of course, but it was the only way to clear his nose so he could breathe and nurse. My MIL would not have that, told me I was abusing my son and that him crying that much would lead to his intestines dropping and death. I was a first-time mom and had no idea what that sentence even meant. She is a bully and always gets her ways. The whole in-law family treated her words as the law. She was not happy when she found out I still did the saline spray before feeding. Plus a bunch of other stuff I was doing that didn't please her. Like not cooking her breakfast, not smiling enough, etc. Cue a 2-hour family meeting. I remember I was still wearing my gigantic postpartum diaper and bleeding excessively as she lectured me on how we should never disrespect the elders and whatever the elders say, we need to shut up and do as told. I cried in that meeting. She thought I cried because I knew I was wrong. No, I cried because my then husband sat behind me and never once spoke back or had my back. Not when she said I should be so grateful I married into their family. I cried because I knew at that time my marriage was over. But I didn't say anything, so she thought I was put back to my place. She carried on with how she treated me like her own daughter, and how ungrateful I was to not cherish the fact that I had her as a MIL. I just cried and held her hand, despite wanting to vomit, and nodded along, knowing I need to start putting together a plan to leave. Few days later she needed some help on her phone. I went into the app that we all use to chat, as she looked and tried to learn, and saw that my name was muted along with realtors and some insurance agents. We both froze and time stood still for a good 5 seconds. I had never seen her shy of words. I finally said, "Oh, there I am," and then continued as if nothing happened. I will always be grateful for that very moment. When I proved that I was not crazy. I knew she despises me and didn't treat me like her daughter. I knew it. But I had no proof, and my then husband kept telling me she just meant well. Don't rock the boat. I've since left, and in my custody agreement I've specifically stated that my son is never to be left alone with her. One day I will have time to deal with my PTSD, as my therapist has called it. But for now, venting to people who gets it is more than enough. This is a reminder to stay strong. Never doubt yourself when you think something is wrong or ridiculous. Curious as to how can you be certain that LO is never alone with MIL, even with the custody agreement. MIL seems like the kind of person that would bully her son to get as much time with LO as she likes. You are definitely right to wonder. I added the clause so they think I have legal standing if I ever caught them. I am only calling her bluff, knowing she only abuses the weak, and is scared of anyone with actual power. She can definitely do anything she dares to, but I will always have the right to take my ex to court for full custody based on our legal agreement. I agree and wonder the same thing, but he'd have to split his time with his mother. If he's willing to do that, guess he doesn't cherish time with his kid. Keep your husband on the most strict custody arrangements possible. He has more than proven to you that you and your child are far from his priorities. Until he understands that he is just as toxic and abusive as his mother. Has he ever considered therapy? I think he's too far gone. He did promise therapy as a way to get me back once, but of course that lasted about a month until his mother popped up again. It's pretty sad his whole family lives under her emotional abuse. I am the only one who escaped. My guess is that X will let her see your son, in spite of what you've said. You deserve so much better than how she treated you. Never doubt yourself or your abilities. Sage advice. Kudos to you. Enjoy that drink, you deserve it, and many others. You are a rock star. Enjoy that drink and your calm future with your LO. I'm sorry for what you had to go through. I can totally empathize and see myself in that position. Thank God you got out of that mess, and I wish you so much better. You deserve a husband who treats you like gold and makes sure his family also treats you like gold. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry that this happened to you. Your MIL has an evil soul. I wish I could have sent you a hug during that ridiculous family meeting. You have made the right move and the first step in self-care by getting rid of this toxic person. Thank you. It would have been nice if I got a hug from someone on my side at that family meeting. Virtual hug to the past you at that family meeting. I've also sat in the same family meeting once upon a time and was also told the same garbage about how she's only criticizing me because she loves me and cares about me. I cried so hard I started hyperventilating, and my husband also did not stand up for me. No one at that *T family table did. I know the exact desperation and loneliness you felt. I felt it too. All I kept thinking was that my own parents, who are the only people on earth with the right to reprimand me, have never talked to me like this before, and how much I missed them. Ugh. I will never in this lifetime forgive my in-laws for that moment, and many more to follow. Screw them. You're moving on fantastically. Old story, 2 dads and 1 miserable baby. Hi. I'm bored in an airport, so I'm going to tell you all about something JustNoMil did in 2018. Note, I'm actually posting this a full day after I typed it. I'm now in the guest room, which is actually my old room, at my uncle and aunt's house in London. Again, this is an old story, so no need for advice. So this was 2018, or early 2019, I can't actually remember and can't be bothered to do the maths. DD was 7 months old. Husband was away at a conference for his job for a full week. He was actually out of the country. He'd been gone for 4 days at this point. It was supposed to all be totally fine. I was already a stay-at-home dad. I could take care of DD by myself for a week. Unfortunately, she was teething and absolutely miserable about it. It started a day after husband left. DD never, and I mean literally never, stopped crying. I'd tried everything. Teething toys, paracetamol, Tylenol, wet/cold washcloths, etc. Everything. I had gotten maybe 4 hours of sleep in 3 days. The only thing that would calm her down enough that she'd stop crying was physical contact. I guess it was comforting. I was absolutely bloody exhausted and desperate for her to nap as well, but if I put her in her cot she'd just start crying again. So I put her on the bed next to me and rubbed her back till she fell asleep, and I also napped for a few hours. I know the dangers of co-sleeping, but I was so tired I could barely even function. Now for the JustNoMil part of this story. The next day, when, thank GD, DD was apparently feeling better and was no longer crying constantly, I was at Gissel's house. I was telling Gissel about how awful my last 3 days had been and apparently JustNoMil overheard. She came over to us, took DD out of my arms, and started checking her all over for, I guess, bruises or something. I honestly don't know. She then, still holding my baby, started yelling at me about how any sort of co-sleeping for any amount of time is the most dangerous thing you can do with a baby. It is not, and how reports can be filed with CPS with just that as the reason. I think she actually yelled for close to 15 minutes. I was crying, because I cry easily and also was still very very tired, so she then started in on her "real men don't cry" lecture that I'd heard before. Side note, she actually seems to think that no adults should ever cry unless someone has died, but women get more leniency than men. I don't know, she's confusing. Gissel managed to take DD from her and demanded, that JustNoMil leave. She did, but not without a lot of complaining. That's all for today's edition of Things My JustNoMil Did Years Ago That Still Make Me Angry to Think About. Thanks for reading. This is not advice. This is an offer. I can be almost anywhere very quickly, armed with a very wet, very cold, very, very slimy mackerel, suitable for slapping people like your JustNoMil right across the chops. You just let me know. That is a very appealing offer. I think you've got a good business plan there. You're a good dad. The problem with co-sleeping is really if the parent is under the influence. There were many times I fell asleep with a baby when I was exhausted, but I would have woken up if the baby started rolling. And of course, something always happens when your spouse is away. My husband would go on a business trip, and that would be the time for mice to invade. Or for the plumbing to start leaking. Or the baby to be cranky. He left for one overnight in June, and literally an hour after he left DD threw up. Food poisoning. Yes, exactly that. I co-slept with my kids as felt it was far more dangerous to fall asleep without doing it safely than it was to organize them so they were safe and fall asleep with them. Lots of cultures co-sleep regularly, it's just when you introduce other factors or if you know you are a deep sleeper it becomes problematic. Teething is rough. Sometimes, you just need to throw the rulebook out the window and do what you need to do to get some relief. My youngest, 8, cut 4 teeth at a time, every time. This is 6.5 years, too late, but rubbing gums helped all 3 of my kids. The counter pressure as teeth move/erupt provides the best relief. That's why they start gnawing on everything they can get their hands on. Thank you for sharing. I very much enjoy your writing style, and the humor you insert into your MIL shenanigans. How are your daughter and the twins doing? It's so nice when I learn of a man, a dad, who cries. Even though the reason is because of a monster mill. You're going to be a good example for your kids. Maybe in some distant past it was important for men to not show emotion, perhaps it gave away too much information to potential enemy tribes, I don't know, but I think it's toxic these days to pretend that men don't feel sad or upset. You're probably avoiding some of the damage that excess stress hormones, cortisol and such, would otherwise wreak upon your body. I'm sending internet mom hugs, if they're welcome. The chronicles of your sweet family always give me hope. Keep up the good fight. I also cry at everything else. Last week a commercial for a refrigerator made me cry. Oh my God. For starters, I am currently dealing with the misery that is teething, so I feel that to my core. Also, this is my 4th and they all co-slept. My oldest was colicky and would not sleep any other way. Glad Sil had your back. I was determined pre-delivery that I would never put my child in harm's way by co-sleeping. Roughly 36 hours after we got home from the hospital, neither of us having slept for more than 39 minutes, my, thankfully sane, mother said, "Just put her in the bed with you. I'll stand here and watch if you need me to." Co-sleeping is the only reason we made it. Not the safest, and I won't pretend it is, but far, far from a guaranteed death trap. Boy mom here. I'll never understand the whole boys/men/adults don't cry nonsense. I mean, I get that it's a generational or gender-based stigma thing. But it drives me up the wall. Express those emotions. It's healthy. Ugh ugh ugh. First off, I can see why this would still piss you off. Second, many moms and dads co-sleep, for years, with no problems, so she's just nuts lol. I get it can be dangerous, but a nap with your exhausted child is not going to kill anyone. I co-slept with all 6 of mine. Firm mattress, no extra pillows or blankets. It can be done safely, and has been for the age of mankind. Do not beat yourself up for parenting the way you needed to. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.